Tonight we begin with a development that financial experts had feared, retirement planners had warned about, and millions of American seniors had hoped would never come. A policy change that unfolded not over years of debate, but in a matter of weeks. Weeks that caught millions of retirees completely off guard. Weeks that left Social Security offices flooded with panicked phone calls. Weeks that could determine whether you receive your full benefits or get denied at the worst possible time. What the Social Security Administration announced this month crossed a line that retirement advocates had hoped would hold. And when that line broke, seniors across America did not hesitate. They responded with confusion, with fear, and with an urgent need for answers. Tonight, we're going to give you those answers. For months now, there had been signals. Not official announcements, not press releases, just signals. That the Social Security Administration was preparing something unprecedented. The SSA has been bureaucratic, yes, but they have been predictable in their bureaucracy. Their policy changes have followed a certain rhythm, a pattern, almost a schedule. But what set off alarm bells among retirement planners this winter was that the pattern went silent. Financial advisors who monitor Social Security policy know the indicators. The quarterly updates that suddenly stopped coming. The website changes that appeared without explanation. The internal memos that leaked to advocacy groups. The sudden hiring freeze at regional offices. All of that went quiet. And whenever a federal agency goes quiet, it means something is about to get loud. Seniors who depend on Social Security for their daily survival, and that's over 68 million Americans, were about to learn just how loud. Early this month, the Social Security Administration released what they described as updated eligibility verification protocols, including documentation requirements that had not been enforced in over 3 decades. These are the kinds of policy changes that the SSA only implements when they are signaling something very specific. Budget cuts, fraud prevention, or a fundamental shift in how benefits are administered. Retirement experts didn't know which category this fell into, or whether it fell into all 3 at once. But what they did know was that the SSA was changing its posture toward retirees. And when a federal agency shifts its verification requirements without adequate public notice, even by a small measure, every American approaching retirement should pay attention. Starting March 2026, new verification rules will require retirees to provide additional documentation that many seniors simply do not have readily available. And if you cannot provide it, your benefits could be delayed, or worse, denied entirely. The warning issued by retirement advocacy groups tonight was not normal. It was not routine. It was not symbolic. It was urgent. Expert after expert, interview after interview, described the SSA's new requirements as unnecessarily burdensome, poorly communicated, and perhaps most importantly, potentially devastating for seniors who lack family support or digital literacy. But bureaucratic changes only work smoothly if citizens are prepared. Most retirees are not. In fact, the confusion we're seeing today is among the most widespread we've witnessed in modern Social Security history. Here's what we know. Within hours of the announcement becoming public, the SSA's phone lines crashed from overwhelming call volume. These weren't casual inquiries. These were desperate calls from seniors. Americans who have paid into the system for 40, 50, even 60 years. Now terrified that a paperwork technicality could cost them everything. Tonight, multiple sources confirmed that the new rules will affect retirees in several critical ways, including identity verification requirements that have recently been expanded for what officials claim is fraud prevention. The SSA announced these changes before most seniors could prepare. They announced new document requirements. They announced updated verification procedures. They announced changes to how spousal benefits will be calculated for applicants filing after March 2026. In other words, the SSA is targeting the entire application and verification infrastructure, the foundation that millions of Americans depend on for survival. This is what makes the timing so alarming. The SSA's new rules aren't just administrative, they're actionable. They represent the kind of changes that could leave thousands of seniors without income if left unaddressed. And retirees, understanding that fully, need to respond with preparation, not panic, not procrastination, but strategic action. They shouldn't wait until March. They shouldn't assume they're exempt. They should gather documents now. They should verify their accounts now. They should understand exactly what's changing before it's too late. And here's where the story becomes even more concerning. Policy analysts now believe that the SSA's latest changes were designed to test the preparedness of the retiree population after years of understaffing and budget constraints. The administration wanted to see whether seniors would comply quietly. But instead, the opposite is happening. Advocacy groups didn't stay silent. They launched a public awareness campaign that was so immediate, so widespread, that even congressional representatives noticed. You don't get Washington's attention easily with Social Security policy. But this month, retirees did. Former SSA administrators, speaking with media under anonymity, described the new requirements as aggressive modernization, a way to reduce long-term fraud and processing backlogs. But seniors proved today that they remain both vigilant and vocal. Their advocacy efforts were not only organized, they were targeted so precisely that multiple representatives have already called for public hearings. That response matters because it shows something important. It shows that retirees are not passive recipients. They are active participants in protecting their own futures. As reports continued coming in throughout the week, we learned more about the scale of these changes. First-time applicants filing after March 2026 will need to provide enhanced identity documentation, forcing many to obtain records they haven't touched in decades. Current beneficiaries may be subject to periodic re-verification that had been suspended since the early 1990s. Spousal and survivor benefit applicants, previously approved through simplified processes, will reportedly face extended review periods lasting 60 to 90 days. This wasn't just an update. This wasn't just modernization. This was a fundamental restructuring. This was a new era for Social Security Administration. And navigating that new era is the one thing millions of seniors have struggled to prepare for since these changes were announced. For every benefit increase seniors have received, the system has countered with something that complicates access. Remember, many seniors thought their paperwork was complete decades ago. They thought their records were secure in federal databases. They thought that after paying in for their entire working lives, collecting benefits would be straightforward. But tonight, the exact opposite is becoming clear. Documentation requirements are expanding. Verification procedures are tightening. And the assumption that the system would simply work is proving dangerously naive. The Social Security Administration has made changes before, but rarely have those changes come with so little notice and so much potential impact. What makes this moment so critical and so time-sensitive is that the SSA's latest changes happened at a time when the agency is under enormous pressure. Congress wants reduced fraud rates. Budget committees want operational efficiency. Advocacy groups want protected benefits. And seniors want reliable access to the money they've earned. The SSA is balancing these demands while operating with historically low staffing levels. And when agencies in that position make sudden policy changes, they're not doing it from a position of strength. They're doing it from pressure. They're doing it from necessity. They're doing it because they have no other choice. And seniors will bear the consequences. The SSA's official statement, now published on their website, was designed to signal that the administration is not willing to tolerate continued fraud and verification gaps. Officials said plainly that the previous documentation standards were inconsistent with modern security requirements. That is bureaucratic language for, the old system wasn't working, and we're fixing it whether you're ready or not. You don't usually hear that tone from the SSA unless something serious is at stake. And something serious is absolutely at stake. Your retirement income, your financial security, your peace of mind. Meanwhile, advocacy leaders addressed seniors in urgent, direct messages this week. They said, "Do not wait until March to gather your documents." They said, "Create your My Social Security account online immediately if you haven't already." And they said, "If you have elderly parents or relatives, help them now, before the deadline creates chaos." These are not rhetorical suggestions. These are urgent warnings from organizations that understand just how high the stakes have become. Here's what makes the situation even more concerning. The SSA's new rules weren't isolated. Along with the documentation requirements, the IRS also announced enhanced coordination with Social Security for income verification. Medicare simultaneously updated enrollment procedures that affect benefit calculations. State agencies increased data sharing requirements targeting benefit recipients. All of this happened within the same fiscal quarter. When multiple agencies move together, it means something larger is underway. A coordinated tightening of requirements across the entire federal benefits infrastructure. Analysts are now considering several possibilities. One is that the SSA is preparing for major budget restructuring in fiscal year 2027. Another is that the administration is attempting to reduce benefit rolls through increased verification failures. A third possibility, the one worrying advocates the most, is that the SSA is attempting to shift the burden of proof onto seniors themselves, making denial the default outcome for incomplete applications. But today, informed seniors can take that risk off the table. They don't have to wait passively. They don't have to hope for the best. They don't have to trust that the system will work. They can prepare now, strategically, thoroughly, and completely. What we're watching now is a test of preparation. The SSA wants to see whether seniors will comply with new requirements. Advocacy groups want to show that retirees will not be caught off guard. Financial advisors want to prevent massive benefit disruptions. And families want to prevent their elderly relatives from losing income. The test begins now, not in March. Tonight, we've heard from sources who are now monitoring SSA field office preparations. They say regional offices are not adequately staffed to handle the expected volume. They say phone wait times could exceed 3 hours during peak periods. And they say the SSA's decision to implement these changes in March is likely part of a broader modernization initiative intended to reduce long-term costs. But seniors are not accepting this passively. In fact, seniors are organizing more effectively than ever before. Their response this week, swift, informed, and unified, sent a message to the SSA that retirees will not be ignored. And it sent a message to Congress that oversight is desperately needed. As the months go on, we expect more details to emerge about what exactly the SSA hopes to achieve with these changes. But what we do know is that early preparation is essential. It protects your benefits, it reduces your stress, and it ensures that when March 2026 arrives, you're ready. What happens next will depend on what seniors do in the next several months. If they prepare thoroughly, this moment will be remembered as a minor inconvenience. If they wait until the deadline, the SSA has already shown they are not equipped to handle the chaos. The system is not designed to help procrastinators. It is designed to process compliant applications. Be compliant before you have to be. And tonight, for the first time in decades, the Social Security system appears to be shifting. Regional offices are overwhelmed. Call centers are backed up. And when federal agencies are overwhelmed, it means processing times will suffer. It means mistakes will happen. It means seniors who aren't prepared will pay the price. Because tonight, every retiree in America learned something they should have known years ago. The government will not remind you. The government will not wait for you. And the government will not apologize when your benefits are delayed. This story is far from over. But tonight, one thing is clear. Preparation is protection. Knowledge is power. And the time to act is now, not in March. And we will be here, providing every update as the next phase unfolds.